Now to start off with, we're trying to calculate the size of the angle between the line AD and the plane ABC. So that means I'm trying to find that angle there. So that's the angle between the line AD and the plane ABC. And to do that, I'm going to need to know some more information. So I need probably to know the height of DC. Now to get the height of DC, I'm going to struggle with this part here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take the triangle B, C and D, and I'm going to use that to begin with. And the reason I'm using that is because they've given me the angle of 34 and they've given me the length of 20. So the 34 angle here between B and D and B and C, and the length of there. And so if I want to find out the height, we'll call it X for the moment, then I can use SOHCAHTOA because it's a 90-degree angle. So here, that's the hypotenuse because it doesn't touch the right 90-degree sine. That's the opposite. That's the adjacent. So SOHCAHTOA, I don't need the hypotenuse, which means I'm looking at tan. So that means that tan 34 is going to be my opposite divided by 20. So that means X is going to be 20 times by tan 34. And if I shove that in my calculator, I get the answer of 13.49. And there's a few more numbers which I'll keep in there. So the next thing I'm probably going to do is to work out the, let's have a think, work out the length of BD. Because what I'm thinking is if, and let's do it in red, if I can work out the length of BD here, and I already know this height here, then because I know this angle here is 60, I could use the triangle A, B and D and use either the cosine rule or the sine rule to find out this length. Having got that length and also DC, then I can use sine, cos or tan to work out the angle A. So let's go for working out BD. So again, I'm still using this triangle here, but this time instead of using opposite, what I'm looking for is the hypotenuse. And the adjacent and the hypotenuse was cos. So I'm going to do cos 34 is the adjacent 20 divided by the hypotenuse, which I'll call BD. Now to rearrange that, if you've forgotten your little triangles, I want the hypotenuse, which is adjacent, over cos. So that means that BD is equal to 20 divided by cos 34. And let me just get my calculator again. And that gets me 24.12 and a few more decimal places. Now I could have used Pythagoras' theorem to do that and taken my 13.49 squared plus my 20 squared gets me BD squared. That would work as well. I just chose to use cos. So the last step that I'm going to do is going to be to try and use the sine rule. Now let me just draw the triangle out here. So that's A, B and D. So I've just worked out B to D to be 24.12. I know this angle is 60. I know that angle is 45, which means this angle has got to be 75. Now, that means if I want to work out the length of AD, I'm going to have AD over sine 60, that length divided by that, and that should be the same as 24.12 divided by sine 75. So AD sine 75 times sine 60. And I'll put the brackets in because the calculator will answer that. So let me work that out. So that came out to be 21.629. And my very last step now is to actually go to this triangle A to C to D. So let's do it in orange up here. So A, C, D. Now DC is 13.49 and AD is 21.629, and so I'm going to work out this angle here, which I'll call Y. This is the hypotenuse, that's the opposite, so I'm going to use SO. So sine Y is equal to 13.49 over 21.629. Now remember, if you get your 13.9 wrong and you get your 21.629 wrong, then that doesn't really matter because you're still going to get a method mark for having worked out this length and worked out that length and done sine appropriately to it. So that means that y is going to be sine minus 1 of whatever my answer is, to 13.49 divided by 21.629. And shoving that on my calculator, I get an answer of 38.586. Now, I'm running out of space, mainly because of the screen rather than the paper. So that's 38.6 to 1 decimal place, and it's degrees. Now, you can actually have a range of 38.5 to 38.6, that's fine. In terms of where you get your marks from here, let's find purple, there we go. So you're going to get a mark, basically, for this part, because that's going to be a process mark to find the length of CD. Then you're going to get a mark for trying to find, well, not trying to find, but actually putting in the right numbers to find the length of BD. Whether you use Pythagoras or whether you use cos, it doesn't make a difference. Then you're going to get a mark for trying to find out the length of AD, in this case by using the sine rule. Then you're going to get a mark for trying to find out what y is, and it's a process mark, so if you do get it wrong, depending on how badly you've got it wrong, you could still get a mark for it. And then your last one is for getting accuracy of the answer.